quickly. I'm going to talk a little bit about the construction of what we did. We get up roughly 5:30 in the morning. It was daylight down there at that time. And someone would usually cook breakfast. Someone would make lunches for the day, usually peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We would get all gathered together about 8 o'clock out front of our dorm and wait for our canteen leader. His name was Roger. Sometimes he was there at 8, sometimes at 9, and sometimes a little later. Anyways, when he showed up, it's usually either walk down the hill, which we saw some people carrying buckets earlier. It looked like a long distance, but like a football field. That's where we would go to get our sand for the day. We would all load sand, carry it back to the truck, dump it in the truck, and spend a half hour doing that till the truck got loaded. If we weren't doing that, we were loading block in the truck. Block. Yeah, they call them block. And the wood, and we would load our own cement, our own materials for the day, and take them to the job sites. Now, there were 3 different job sites. Whether you all know it or not, 5 other people went on the mission with us that we did not find about, I don't believe, till the last minute. And that's why you see more people there not from our church. And somebody else will explain that, I'm sure. We would get in the back of the truck, on top of the sand, or the block, or whatever. There isn't a picture of the truck, but it was an open bed truck with railings on the side, like you see construction that took the loading the boards and things. And we would start out. Paved road for the first 5 minutes. From then on, it was almost straight up or straight down. And some of the potholes were maybe 16 inches deep. It'd go this way, it'd go that way. That's why a lot of us had sore backs. It was hard to stay in there because you're beating up against everybody. The truck going this way, all the bodies go this way. And that was the roughest part. By the time we got to the job site, which is roughly 10 or 12 miles, they said, it was 45 minutes, and we were pretty tired just trying to stand up. Got to the site. There were 3 different ones. Most of us, except for Ron, I think he was at the second site, and some of the other ones from PA and stuff were at the first site. Most of us were at the third site, which is the farthest, and also the longest walk from the road to carry the block to the site. There's roughly 550 blocks per house. So all those had to be carried from the road, which you saw the kids carrying the buckets that were the same avenue, around like that. The kids saw us doing it, they jump in, they help. So then we commenced to mixing mud, which was cement to lay the block. And they did that right on the ground with a coarse sand, some of it that we had loaded. Get it mixed up and start laying block. And if you notice some of the block, they all had 3 cells in them. The block were 6 inch by 16 inch roughly. And they had 3 cells in them. It was closed on the top. So it was flat on the top. So the 3 cells, they would do it upside down. They would put mud 4 to 5 inches tall. And then they squash the block in it. So some of that would ooze up into the cells, and that would give it a strength so it didn't hold. But every third course, they had a piece of fence wire that would sort of bond it all together. So we did that. Everybody chipped in with that. Laid out for a couple of windows, which were the wooden ones, and a door. So we built from there. Once the blocks were up, it had a pitch of 1 block, so it was 12 courses high on one side and 11 on the other, so the water would run off. They would use corrugated roofing on top of treated 2x4s, not pressure treated, just treated. We get up to the top course, and they would take about a 1-foot piece of number 3 rebar with a little hook on the end, stick it down in there. When you went to put the what we call our little trusses or something, the 2x4, then you take the hammer, bend that over. That was the hurricane strike. As far as stucco, it's the same thing. What we call stucco here, they call floating. And we would take the cement for that and the sand for that up in the morning, carry it in, put it in the center of one. There's 2-room houses, or 10 by 20. One of the rooms they would use to mix the mud in. They would bring all the sand in, the water, and the cement they'd mix there. Now take in mind, each of the owners of the homes were to supply the water. The nearest water was 4,000 feet down the mountain. They had to bring it up in the evenings fill 5-gallon drums with it, and that's what they would use to mix with. This is also what they have to do to get water for living. That's water that they drink, et cetera, et cetera. There are some pictures I'm sure you'll see later of some other people that we didn't get on, or she didn't get on a slide of that, how far they had to go every day to get their water. So then we float the walls, typical way they do it. And let's see, what am I missing? Oh yes. Prior to our coming, I think we were told that they were screening the sand, which means they had an 18-inch 2x4 thing with a little screen in it, a 4-inch mesh that they'd shake like that to get the mix for the cement to lay the block. Prior to us coming, they were doing it on site. Our team leader said it would take 4 people 2 days to shift the sand, the shaking of sand out. When they got to the finer sand, which was for the stucco, then you got a smaller mesh and you had to keep shaking all the Spokane for the same type thing. And let's see what else. Is that it? I think that's basically. And then they had a carpenter crew. A couple guys came in and they would start on the roof. We had Larry from PA did one all by himself. Everybody was impressed with that. The guys out there, it took 2 or 3 of them, and worked. It's pretty quick. We actually worked 4 days on the houses, and they were not full days by any means. We get back. We usually leave the site or get back to the dorm about 5:30. That's that same road again, up and down. I think coming back might even be worse because you're already tired and you're beat to death, and you just. But it was fun. I think we all had a good time. Everybody chipped in. Everybody got to do a little bit of everything.